Hey there everybody, it's Caitlin, your geeky girlfriend, and we're doing something different tonight in today's video. I'm gonna do all 43 books that I read in 2024 in hopefully 43 minutes or less. So this is gonna be a really quick wrap up of everything that I read. I'm gonna tell you what it was, the genre, the star rating, and the spice rating if applicable, and then I'll give you like a one sentence synopsis. So let's go ahead and get into it. Starting off with 30 things every woman should have and should know by the time she's 30. This is a collection written by Glamour magazine. I gave it 4 stars overall. No real spice factor because this is a self-help book, and it's just a fun little like advice book for women approaching their 30s. The second, or the 42nd book, because this is most recent to the very beginning of the year, was Fairest of Them All. This is in the Disney Villain series. It is, I'm trying to think of a really quick synopsis. Villain's origin story. So kind of like Once Upon a Time in a book, but for kids. I gave this one 2 stars overall. I felt it was a little bit boring and I wanted more from it. Zero spice. Appropriate for young children. Then we have Lover or Loser by Tessa Bailey. This was the most recent 5-star book that I read in a one-sentence synopsis. This is the second book in a series, and it is a couple going through marriage counseling to work on their marriage. I loved everything about this book. I would say spice level is a 3, could be a 4 depending on your level, and like I said, I gave this book 5 stars. Next we have Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. Plot synopsis, this is first in a series. It is celebrity trope, so like a fan dating a celebrity, and I gave this one 3 stars. It was a little bit better than I was expecting, started off kind of slow, and spice level was about a 2. Next we have Raiders of the Lost Heart by Joe Segura. I gave this book 5 stars. I loved everything about it. This is Indiana Jones meets like, I'm trying to think of a female, kind of like a, like I pictured like a Jenna Ortega character in it, but it's Indiana Jones, but with a female lead instead. Spice level, I would say about a 3, maybe a 3.5, but pretty equivalent to the works of Tessa Bailey and others. And like I said, I gave it 5 stars overall. I absolutely loved it. It is more of a rom-com, set in the rainforest or the, like Amazon jungle. The Underground Library by Jennifer Ryan. I gave this book 2 stars. I almost did not finish this book. This book is follows 3 different female leads. I skipped over the one whole perspective. Some tropes, unwanted pregnancy, World War II, and feminism, I guess. Like I said, I gave it 2 stars. No spice. It is historical fiction is the genre. I'm trying to remember all of the things that I'm supposed to be telling you guys, so I'm just sorry if I missed something. Next we have The Housemaid is Watching by Frida McFadden. This is the 3rd in a series. You do have to read them in order, or it's my recommendation that you read them in order. All 3 will be in this countdown, or count up, so make sure you check all of them out. But this one is thriller, not so much psychological thriller like some of her others, more just mystery, like suspense thriller. I gave this one 4 stars overall, and spice level is very low. I would say a 1. Survive the Night, Riley Sager. This is also a thriller. Plot synopsis, college girl gets in the car with a stranger. That's pretty much all you need to know. She thinks that the stranger is a serial killer, and then there's a huge big twist with that, and that's why it's called Survive the Night. Definitely kind of, I don't really know how else to describe that. I gave this one, I think, 4 stars. I ended up liking it a little bit more than I thought. It started off kind of slow, but then it picked up and the plot twists were pretty good. So I gave it, between a 3 and a 4. And honestly, some of these I did months ago, so the star ratings I might be saying a different star rating now than I did when I first rated it. But if you're interested, just go find me on Goodreads or watch my YouTube video. Then we have The Housemaid's Secret. This is the 2nd in the Housemaid series. This one I did give, I think I gave this one 4 stars. I gave The Secret 3 stars, or maybe No, maybe I gave this one 5 stars. Honestly, I'm not too sure. I think this one's more like a 4.5. The Housemaid is Watching is like a 3.5 to a 4. But like I said, this is the second one in the series. This one is the best in the series, in my opinion. And plot synopsis: the main character goes and works for a new family and almost gets herself in trouble. That's all I'm going to say about that. Again, low level spice. Actually, this one is the one with the least amount of spice out of this whole series. And yeah. So moving on, Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, 5 stars. I would say a 2 to a 3 for spice, depending on your level. For me, it was like a 2, but it was like endearing. Like, it was just very endearing. It wasn't like rough, oh, let's, F our brains out. It was like, it was just very lovey-dovey. But the book itself, 5 stars. This is part of like the Love Hypothesis trilogy. They are not a series. They're just a collective. You can read them in any order. But yeah, 5 stars for that one. Fixer Up Tessa Bailey, I gave this one 3 stars. Spice level was definitely a 3. Like a strong 3. Maybe for some people would be lending towards a 4. But for me, it rested like solidly in that 3 range. And plot synopsis, we have a sports star trope in this one. We've got a fake dating trope, and we have like family romance. And this is part of the same collective as Lover or Loser, so it follows the same characters but different storylines for each couple. Then we have The Hotel Nantucket by Elin Hilderbrand. This is my first Elin Hilderbrand novel. Plot synopsis: Nantucket Beach Hotel is haunted, and they're trying to get a 5-star review from a reviewer. So if you like hotel books, if you like coastal books, beach books, this one is a good one. And I actually ended up giving this one 4 stars because I felt like it delivered what I wanted from it. And very low level spice, like a 1. Among the Heroes by Jer Longham. This one is a nonfiction about the United 93 flight and the passengers on the flight. Very informative, very tense and dense reading material, but the plot synopsis is just the author kind of goes into the background of who all the passengers were and who all of the terrorists were on that flight, and gives you just more information about who they were, separate from this tragic event. A great 9/11 read, and if you are really interested in 9/11, definitely add that one to your list. Overall, I did give it 3 stars just because of the density of the material, but I learned a lot. The Housemaid by Frida McFadden, this is the first one, so if you're looking to read this series, make sure you do the blue one first. It introduces the characters. I really like Millie as a character, but the plot synopsis is just this girl with interesting past takes on a job as a housemaid, and then drama ensues. This one is the one with the most spice in the whole series, and I give it a 2 for level of spice. And it's more like graphic and gore, not necessarily spice, but just know that graphic material is included. Then we have The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This is my first Ali Hazelwood book. I gave it 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. Again, it just has that really endearing storyline, and you can see my full review of all these books in my YouTube channel. 5 stars. Level 2 spice, maybe a 3, depending on your comfort level. For me, it was a 2. And I don't think I gave a synopsis. I'm going to scroll back up. I don't think I gave a synopsis for Love on the Brain, but Love on the Brain is, they both kind of have, well, they're women in STEAM. And then The Love Hypothesis is fake dating. The Love on the Brain is it's not really fake dating. It's more like enemies to lovers, I guess, but like in a not convention, like it's not really enemies to lovers. It's just kind of like 2 colleagues. Well, I guess it would be considered enemies to lovers. Disregard. Ignore. Love Hypothesis is fake dating and women in STEAM. The Teacher by Frida McFadden, 5-star book. Plot synopsis. It follows actually 2 different perspectives. There's a teacher and a student, both female, and the teacher, suspects that things are happening. The student kind of tells what is happening, and then both of their lives kind of intertwine at this massive event. That's all I'm going to say about that one. And the spice level in The Teacher is, I would say, a 2 to 2.5, depending on your comfort level. I've heard some teachers especially say that it was like cringy. So just keep that in mind. But the spice itself is pretty lower level. Speak by Lori Halls Anderson. This is a YA novel. It's a drama novel. The whole story is about a young girl who is battling anxiety and depression regarding going to school due to an event that happened before the events of the story. And I gave this book 3 stars overall. I never read this book growing up, but this is a book that I do think most young adult readers should read. But yeah. Next, we have The Real Deal by Lauren Blakely. Again, we have fake dating trope, one bed trope, and all you need to know about this one is the girl hires the guy to be her boyfriend for a family event, as most fake dating tropes do have. And I actually gave this book 4 stars, either between a 4 and a 5 on Storygraph. It was very charming and cute, and the chemistry and the banter between the 2 leads is great, and I really liked it. If You Tell a True Story of Murder, Family Secrets, and the Unbreakable Bond of Sisterhood by Greg Olson, I gave this book a 2. This is very, very intense material. It is true crime, is 100% a true story, and it was very hard to read. I felt icky reading it, but it is about a woman who was from Seattle and lived in Seattle in the late 80s, early 90s, and she was a serial killer. She tortured and killed several people, and so it's very hard, intense material. Next, we have When the Fruit Falls by Brianna Ray Quinn. This is a poetry collection, and I related heavily to a lot of the poems in the collection, so I highly recommend. Overall, I gave it 4 stars because of the relatability, but it is available on Amazon. We have to scroll down. My books are not loading. Okay, sorry for the delay. We got it. Next is Ordinary Grace by William Kent Kruger. I rated this book also a 2 star. And if you are new to my channel or new to me on Goodreads, the only reason I will rate something 1 star is if it was like almost a do not finish. Typically I try to find like 1 redeeming quality in a book. So 2 stars is typically the lowest that I'll go for a book. And this one I just felt was really, really boring. But this story, the plot synopsis is that it's this teenage boy who just experiences a lot of death in one summer, and it's just kind of his recounting of the events, and the deaths are all like, they have different causes, I guess you could say. But yeah, Zero Spice. Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I actually rated this book 4 stars. I would give it a 3 to a 3.5 on the spice level, maybe even pushing towards that 4. And I have a full rating system of how I rate my books by spice, so if you're interested, go watch that on my YouTube channel. Will I be reading the second one? Absolutely. I'm trying to do it before the third one releases here in just a few weeks. But plot synopsis, I'm going to use the same description that I used before I read it, and it's like Harry Potter meets the Hunger Games with sexy things happening to the characters. So it's set around a young girl who is in school, a magic school, to learn how to ride dragons. That's essentially the plot synopsis. The Summer She Went Missing, I actually listened to as an audiobook. This is a YA mystery. Plot synopsis, a girl's best friend goes missing, and then they spend the entire next summer trying to locate her. I gave it a 3 star overall, and there's no spice. We'll Always Have Summer by Jenny Han. This is the 3rd in the Summer I Turned Pretty series. The plot synopsis is female lead finally has to make a decision between one of these 2 brothers in this love triangle that has been going on for 3 books. So you do have to read these books in order for it to make sense. And I gave this one 3 stars. Overall, I felt they were kind of repetitive, kind of predictable overall, and there were parts of it that were just boring, but it is considered a YA romance. Next, we have All the Missing Girls by Megan Miranda. This is a debut thriller for this author. And pretty predictable, I would say, in terms of the thriller script, but it is a female lead visiting her hometown for the first time in several years, and because her dad is ill and in a nursing home, and her brother kind of work to get his finances all in order, and then they uncover all of these secrets. Then we have It's Not Summer Without You, the second in the Summer I Turned Pretty series. I gave this one a I think a 2 or a 3-star. And this one I think was my least favorite. And again, we have a female lead torn between two brothers in a love triangle, and the story just kind of repeats itself all through the books. And then we have The Summer I Turned Pretty. Same thing. Female lead, two brothers in this love triangle. She goes back and forth between the two of them for 3 books consecutively. It kind of is boring and it's a little bit repetitive. I gave this one 2 stars. Then we have The Women by Kristen Hanna. This one I gave 4 stars. Tropes, we have Vietnam War, and we have female lead and women in war. So those are like the 3 things that you need to know. And the synopsis is Frankie, the main character, enlists in the Vietnam War to go try and be with her brother and bring honor to her family. So we do have kind of a little bit of a Mulan sort of storyline. But she... it more talks about her PTSD that she suffers from after returning. So that's a little bit of a spoiler, but we have to keep going. Letters to a Young Gymnast by Nadia Comaneci. This was a nonfiction book. This was the shortest book of the year, and I gave this one 4 stars. As a gymnast, I loved learning about Nadia's upbringing, how she was raised, trained, and there were some very interesting things about her story with immigration as well. And so if you are a gymnast, I definitely would recommend this one. Then we have I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. This was a 5-star book for me. I devoured this book. I loved everything about it. Her humor, the way it's written, I just really, really enjoyed it. And it's just her memoir and her youth and childhood being on TV. We have A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. This is another debut novel. This is a thriller and similar storyline and similar setup to All the Missing Girls, but I actually liked this one a little bit better. So this one is a 4-star, but it's similar. A woman goes back to her hometown, discovers all of these secrets, and kind of has to confront the history of her past. So very similar storylines between this one and All the Missing Girls. Once Upon a Dream by Liz Braswell. This is the Sleeping Beauty twisted tale. We get that perspective of Sleeping Beauty, and she realizes that she is actually living in a dream, and then her and Philip trying to get out of that dream. I rated this book 2 stars. I thought it was so boring, and I did not like it. It does constitute as a YA fantasy. In the last several books that we've had, there's been no spice. The Women, I would say you could maybe say that it was like a 2 spice, but I would more say it's a 1. Flicker in the Dark, I think there was 1 scene, and then obviously the YA fantasy, there was none. 2 Can Keep a Secret, this was a YA thriller suspense by Karen McManus, and the premise is very similar to these thrillers. There was a series of murders, young girls going missing in this town, and these teens kind of get involved because their family was involved in the past, and they kind of take it upon themselves to try and solve the mystery. Kind of Good Girls Guide to Murder-ish. This one I gave 3 stars. Then we have Every Bone of Prayer by Ashley Blooms. I gave this book 4 stars. This is magical realism as the genre, and I liked this book a lot more than I thought I was going to. We have some trigger warnings of neglect and some childhood trauma, but also set in like Appalachia, so you've got that going on as well. And it's just told from a young girl's perspective and her life, in the river and with the crawfish and all those things. Suicide Notes from Beautiful Girls by Lynn Weingarten. Young adult thriller suspense. Again, a young girl goes missing. I have a trend here this year, apparently. A young girl goes missing. Her friend tries to solve the pieces, ends up getting involved in a deeper, bigger plot. I gave that one 3 stars, I believe. Sister of the Bride, I think I gave this one either 2 or 3 stars. This is by Beverly Cleary, and it was your typical, like, young teenage girl struggles with her older sister getting married, so pretty overused and kind of wildly used little trope, but 0 spice. It is young adult. Searching for John Hughes, everything I thought I needed to know about life I learned from 80s movies. This was also a memoir, and it's by Jason Diamond, so this was also nonfiction. This one I really struggled to get through. I really wanted to like this book because I love 80s movies and I love John Hughes, but I gave this one 2 stars. And it's literally just a recounting of his life and how he became the author that he is. Then we get into the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. The most, we're going in reverse chronological order, so As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson is the 3rd one. I gave this book 2 stars. After the first 2, this one was such a letdown, and really everything that had been built up for Pip in the first 2 books, in my opinion, was just completely crumbled down to nothing in this 3rd one. If you have not read this series yet, I personally would skip this one. I don't think it's very good. because, like I said, everything just kind of goes down the toilet. Then we have Good Girl, Bad Blood, which I gave 5 stars, and this genre is young adult thriller suspense, kind of murder mystery-y, but this one has like a side plot of like catfishing, and I loved this one. I devoured this one. I gave it 5 stars. The other book that is not on this list here that I did read was the Killjoy novella in this series. I read it over the summer. Super quick little read. Took me like an hour to read it. I gave it like 3 stars. I would recommend reading Killjoy first. It gets you an idea of what Pip is going to do, but it won't make very much sense because you don't know who the characters are. So Killjoy was written after the series, but I wish I would have read it first, because knowing what I knew after reading the series, it just kind of jumbled everything up. All right, then we have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, the first in the series. These books you do have to read in order. So if you have the second one or the third one and you're wondering if you can just pick it up, definitely get the first one from your library. The plot synopsis in one sentence is: a teenage girl decides to solve an unsolved mystery in her hometown as her senior capstone project, and ends up pretty much going viral for it and gets herself very involved. And it has 3 books, like I just said, and the second one is great, the third one not so much, and then there was actually a novella. Overall, I gave this first one 3 stars, because the second one I gave 5 stars. But the first one now, after reading all 3, I probably would bump up to like a 4 star, but at the time that I read it, I only gave it a 3 star. Very little spice, but there is some gore involved because it's a murder mystery kind of suspense. All right, then we have It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. This is the sequel to It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, and this is another one that if you have not read this book, don't even bother, because I felt like this book was unnecessary and completely unneeded. I gave the first one, It Ends With Us, a 3 star to a 4 star, and this one I literally gave like a 2 star. I just felt like it was unnecessary and I didn't like it, but essentially the plot synopsis is Lily Bloom moves on with her life after her relationship with Ryle, and that's about all you need to know, and it just, like I said, it was just kind of unnecessary. Then we have the Murder on the Orient Express, which is the last one that we're going to talk about in this video, by Agatha Christie, the murder mystery writer extraordinaire that she is. This book, I wrote in my review, gives Knives Out, like all of these suspects and the Hercule Poirot, or whatever, however you say his name, trying to figure out who actually murdered this poor person in the cabin of the train, and then coming to find out who it is. So that's the plot synopsis. I gave it 3 stars. The Old English is a little bit tricky, but compared to Pride and Prejudice, it's definitely easier. So don't, give it a chance. Don't be turned off by the fact that it does have some older English language, and it definitely is an acquired taste. Would I read Agatha Christie again? Probably. And then There Were None, especially, is one that's on my list. Okay, everybody, that is it for this video. We did that in about half the time that I wanted to. Make sure you go check out my individual reviews of all of these books in my YouTube channel, and if you are watching this video here on YouTube, make sure you just scroll down and check out all the videos that I did for 2024 and all of the books that I read. Each video does have, each book does have its own video, so make sure you go check that out, and it'll be a full description of the plot without spoilers, and my star ratings, my spice ratings, and all of that, and should it be added to your TBR or not. With the few minutes that we have left, I'm going to just quickly share my 2025 reading goals with you guys, and the first one is I want to read 48 books this year. That's 4 books a month, which equates to about 1 book a week. The second one is I want 8 to 12 of those books to be nonfiction, keeping up with the 25% rating that I gave myself for this year. So this year my goal was 24 with 6 nonfiction. So I ended up surpassing that with fiction books, but I did meet the nonfiction goal as well. So I'm just trying to, as I go up, I want to up the nonfiction as well, so we're always learning. And then I want to kind of finish off some series that I started in 2024. So finishing off those Ali Hazelwood books with The Love Theoretically, trying to catch up on the Fourth Wing books, and start maybe some additional series in 2025. Some authors that I'm looking to read this year. Well, first of all, also I want to finish the Hot and Hammered series by Tessa Bailey. I only have 1 book left. But some other authors that I want to give you know, read more of this year are Taylor Jenkins Reid. I want to read more Colleen Hoover, and I want to try Anna Huan this year, and I also want to try Anna Todd this year. Those are 2 authors that are on my list, and then I have some other YA authors like Holly Jackson and Karen McManus that I still have books in their collectives to kind of work my way through as well. Thank you all so much for being here on my channel. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and stay tuned for all of the reading and Bookie Babe fun that we're going to have in 2025. I hope you guys liked this video. Let me know down below with a thumbs up if you did, and if you're new here, make sure you hit that red button and subscribe to my channel. That's it for this one, and I wish you all the happiest new year and the happiest reading. See you guys next time.